Yeah. We were really good attendance.
Actually, no, I did okay.
Okay.
So I'm hoping like I'll get invited back to that, so.
I go by.
You should. You will.
Next to us.
There's yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, you sign up for fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Good afternoon, good evening to everyone. It is 5:03. We want to begin today, Thursday, August 28th, 2025, Wichita Citizen Review Board. We're here at the Advanced Learning Library here in downtown Delano, Wichita. So good to see you all. Thank you all for accepting my not being here on last meeting. I apologize. We sent our daughter to college and I was kind of torn up. So I wouldn't have been a good person to be here last month. I was crying. So it was bittersweet. It was bittersweet. I will say that the last time I was here, we literally froze. So you guys were here last month. I hope you didn't freeze. But the last time I was here, I was an Eskimo. So good to be here. We're going to move forward with our meeting. First order of business on today's approval of our July 24th meeting minutes. All in favor?
I just had one thing, I wasn't even here, but the last part of this is Faith Martin moved to adjourn at 7:08, motion failed to.
Yeah, I seen that.
I was just curious.
That was our computer system, but that's my apologies. I'll fix that.
Okay, so what it was, the motion failed to.
I don't know what it failed to do, but
Okay.
it passed.
Oh, okay. All right.
We've just been waiting for you guys to come back.
We
sat here the whole month.
Y'all look pretty good for having been here for a month. Okay, I'm just curious about that. So with that, I guess we'll ask staff to make whatever correction there is to clarify on that.
So definitely approve the corrections.
So motion to approve the one correction of the motion to adjourn on last meeting. Let's see, so we have to have a motion to approve the amendment of that. All in favor of approving the amendment, I guess. Second. Moved and properly second.
Aye.
Any opposers? All right, motion carries. So that means our minutes are good. Okay, moving forward. Jesus.
It's hard.
Training and presentations. So that's kind of how it works. Let's move to our public comment session real quick, then we'll come back to that. We have two that have signed up today, Mr. Vincent Hancock and Mr. Travis Cunningham. They will come in that order.
Before we do that, I make a motion to amend the agenda.
I'm
sorry, I didn't hear.
We gotta have a motion to rearrange our agenda.
Yes.
Second, all in favor? Anyone opposed? All right, thank you. Go right ahead, sir.
Mr. Chair, just wanted to give a little props where they're due. This last Saturday, I was attending the quarterly meeting of the Wichita neighborhoods, and we had not one, not two, but three of your board members come by and somewhat informally just say hi. And I understand later there will be PowerPoints and speech available, but it was just good to see you guys out in the community. Thank you so much for supporting us in that way, because you know that I can be your champion for coming to these meetings personally, but who better to be that evangelist to you guys. So appreciate seeing you guys there and look forward to when you can come and join us again.
Thank you.
Vincent, I'm on the calendar to do the presentation at next month's District 6 staff meeting.
And I'm on the calendar to do District 2.
See, it's just all fitting together.
And
Thank
then
you.
with the meeting you were talking about gave us one other additional person who would like the committee to come out.
Oh, nice, so we already have like a queue.
And I believe Robert said he spoke at one.
No, I'm sorry.
But Robert and I were actually at the District One Town Hall
Yeah.
that just had, so CRB was represented there as well, and the chief mentioned CRB multiple times, so that's really great.
Fantastic. Appreciate you all for being out there, being a vision. That's great. Appreciate that. Mr. Travis Cunningham, sir.
Wow, wish mine was gonna be that quick. Okay, I'm here because I had an incident happen with Wichita Police Department. I called Professional Standards Bureau. Got a determination, not happy with the determination. Since I'm here to review, or I guess request review on the determination, going to skip the particulars about the incident. Okay, because I don't see that that's pertinent. Speaking with Mr. Gregory, okay, nice to meet you. He said basically you guys can't do anything about the determination, or about the incident, the determination, so I'm going to just skip that. Feel free to ask questions if you have it. My problem with the determination is I gave my account to a detective with the Professional Standards Bureau, and she took my testimony, took my account, and then filed a report and complaint. And I was told I'd hear back what the determination is within 7 days. I did, and they basically came back and called me a liar. My account was absolutely factual. It was current. It was moments after the incident. It was taken by a detective, and she didn't question me about the accuracy or honesty or integrity of the account I was giving. So I'm the kind of guy, if you call me a liar, I take offense at it. That's why I'm here. Okay, I understand that probably nothing can be done about that. Let's talk about exactly, because the letter I sent to Mr. Van Dyke was the last statement I said, I feel I must ask what basis you came to that determination. And since then, I've talked with the Detective Shell, who took the account, and she and I had a couple of long conversations. I can be a little windy. So I had a couple of long conversations with her, and it kind of came out that Detective or Lieutenant, I guess it's Captain Cooley, who did the investigation, didn't bother calling me, the person who was involved in it. He didn't bother calling or getting hold of Detective Shell, the person who took the account. It doesn't sound like he probably talked with the officer that was involved. Since my conversation with Detective Shell was a 79-minute phone conversation, I can't imagine the captain listened to my conversation. But what he did do is he called Officer Martinez's supervisor. And the supervisor said, I was there, nothing was wrong. So that was the sum of the investigation that netted me being called a liar. I don't see how you can perform an investigation talking to none of the active parties or the person who took the report and come up with a determination that I'm a liar. There's some deeper problems with that, in so much as one of the things that Lieutenant Hutchins said is he tries to promote or tries to work on building and maintaining positive relationships with those he serves. I'm a reputable citizen. You call me a liar, if I can't come to the police department with a legitimate complaint and feel secure in the fact that my words are going to be listened to and my character is not going to be assassinated, those who are not of my standing, my age, my level of responsibility, how are those people going to feel like they can come to the Wichita Police Department and voice their concerns? Okay. So the other thing that he said that I found quite disturbing is he said something about the fact, so let's see if I can draw it up here real quick. Well, it's something about a level of excellence. And there's no way that this process, this procedure can be evaluated on a level of excellence when I'm trying to establish how I can go about communicating with the police department. There's an absolute breakdown. Breakdown results in me filing a complaint. The complaint doesn't get heard or properly investigated. And at the end of that,
Ms. Kenna, if you could wrap it up,
okay,
in the next 45 seconds or so. Go ahead.
okay.
Good.
No,
Start at the
so
top.
in essence, I don't feel like, one, the detective wrote the proper violations. She said that it was for lack of being courteous. And it wasn't just that, that would be 3.33, I think, and 3.32 is more about not giving accurate information, listening to the citizen, and being helpful and providing assistance as needed. That would be probably more accurate on what I was complaining about. The lack of professional behavior was notable, but you know, there you go.
Mr. Cunningham, do you have a PSB number that you'd like us to review?
I have that, I think it's 25 PSB 3567, is that correct?
Let's see,
That's,
From the email?
that's from the email.
35.6.
We need to see a copy of your letter.
567, yes, sir.
35.67.
And it's pretty.
25 PSB 3567.
Yes.
So, sir, you're asking us to review your case later in our agenda. We would make motions to approve that, and I'll make that motion.
You know, in my written statement that I brought, that I was told it probably isn't appropriate to offer at this point, I said, I'm here to help. Is why I called the Professional Standards Bureau, because I was trying to help. It's really offensive when you're trying to help and you get called a liar. Okay, I wasn't trying to get anybody in trouble. I was just trying to point out that it wasn't handled the way you would expect the police department to handle the interaction with the citizens of this city. And for that, I'm called a liar. Okay, you guys, so you say, am I asking you to review it? I'm here to help. Same thing I was trying to do before. If you want to review it, if you think that it sounds interesting, I'd be more than happy to come back and talk to you again. If you don't, then I ran the course. I can tell you this, for the record, I am not a liar.
So when you spoke to a live person at PSB, how did we come to the fact that you were called a liar? Were you blatantly called a liar?
The determination was, conclusion of this investigation determined the employee complied with the department's policies and procedures and current legislation. And was determined to be unfounded. The WPD policy 901 definition of unfounded states, unfounded, allegations are, is false or not factual. If someone says something that's false or not factual, is that not a lie? I'm not, what else?
I just want to make sure, I just want to make sure that as a professional courtesy, you were not called a liar. That's where I was going with it. The language means something to me. So we're good.
No.
I'm gonna look at the statement,
No.
of course. I just was asking.
No,
How to have it right in front.
I read what was said, and no, I was not called a liar.
I got you.
But you can't say that what I said was untrue or false or not factual, and it not be insinuated that I'm a liar. Okay.
Appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And to talk a little bit about the process going forward, so as Faith mentioned, she'll make a motion to that the board reviews your case. I presume we'll invite him, I can invite.
When it's on the agenda, I don't wanna say which month it is.
Right, we don't know which month it's going to be available for, when we because I know we didn't get into details of the PSB itself. Right, and I know we're on the agenda here, so.
Okay.
And you'll receive a certified letter
Yes.
inviting you.
Like I said, I'm just trying to help folks.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Moving up, traffic, data. Yeah.
I mean, y'all.
I get on
Thank you.
lately, but I didn't know he had anything to hand out.
See, she offered. Yeah, just giving that, he said, hey, give this.
I know, that's all I'm saying right here.
All right, so the top, on the first page, the top part, got a little blurry when I blew it up, plus got a little out of whack there, but that part is something that we use weekly in our comp stat meeting. We break it down into 28-day versus 28-day. And we find that that's around the best type of comparison data as opposed to comparing like 5 years to 5 years. Crime changes too much in a 5-year pattern.
Which one did you say was the best one? 90 day?
28.
28.
Yeah, 28 to 28. But we do break it down into other categories just so we can see what's going on. So we do year to date versus year to date versus the 5-year average. So we do break it down. And we do this with all crime, but since we're talking about traffic data. So I know some of it can be a lot on the eyes, but essentially the 28-day comparison would show us, as we're evaluating this, that we have a 5% reduction in all vehicle accidents. So that's how we gauge what resources we're putting where. And a good example of that is when we compare, say, robberies, if there's a 10% increase, we might move some resources from something else to robbery. So we'll use that number to gauge where we're going to move our resources around to tackle issues. So as you can see, all the way across, there's a 5% increase, as you can see all the way across, except for the 90-day comparison, there is still an increase in traffic accidents. Year to date, it's up 6%. And that includes all the categories you see there underneath it, whether it's first a fixed object or a bicycle, it doesn't matter, it all gets in that category. So as you can see, accidents are still increasing. And then under that, we broke down the green is warning citations and blue is actual citations. The bigger boxes, the top ones, is year to date. So January to July 1st. And then the smaller boxes under that are broken down by the quarter, since this is technically the quarter 2 traffic data. These maps, as promised and as presented, is the strategy in which we deploy our traffic officers and other officers around the city. So the red circles are the accident locations, and it's all, the circles are generated based on data input. So I guess I want to say that so you know we didn't go in and draw different shapes of circles. The data is making the circles do different stuff. So that some of them are figure 8, some of them are actual circles. That's the data generating those. And then the blue is where the citations and enforcements are being wrote. So the first map is April to May. Second map is May to June. And then the last map is June to July. And the reason we printed these separate instead of giving you a quarter breakdown is if you are interested in seeing, are the circles moving, are the blue circles moving? They do move, so we do move our strategy. I know a lot of that is kind of in the weeds on how we're
deploying our officers, but it kind of gives you an idea on where they're going.
On the first page, are the bureaus set up like city council where it's a certain population per bureau, or is it strictly geographic? Like, I don't know if it's, 2,500 out west means that there's more people out west, or do they get more citations? I'm not sure how that's.
Yeah, so, short answer is no, it doesn't match city council districts or divided into, Patrol West has 25% of the population. So how we divide our bureaus, which is not very often because it is quite labor intensive and computer work and 911 work and everything else to realign your bureaus, same with your beats. So every so often we'll go back and look at the bureaus or beats, and ideally what we want is each bureau to be responsible for 25% of the calls. That way there are officers answering the same amount of calls, and one bureau is not getting hammered and answering 50%, the other one's like, I didn't do anything, today, I have a slow bureau. So that's how our bureaus are kind of broken down, is in theory, it's 25% of the 911 calls.
So that means based off this data, and I'm gonna guess it would be more than just 1 month, you would do trends over time. You would potentially redraw those boundaries based on what we're seeing here, like, not quite double, but definitely a significant portion.
Draw the boundary of.
Because you said it's by calls, by 911 calls, so if West is consistently getting 2/3 more than all the rest, then they may need to get wrapped into some other some other bureaus.
Yeah, I mean, these are traffic citations, but I think if we were talking about, let's say this was 2,500 calls.
Right.
Then yes, we would have a disproportional amount of work. Some of the other solutions we'll do is, it's very difficult to shift bureau boundaries. It's a lot easier to say Patrol West is gonna have 110 officers staff it, and for this example, Patrol North is gonna have 90. So it's a lot easier to shift 20 officers over to help with call load than it is to say, we're changing everything in the computer.
Okay.
If it's helpful, next Citizen Police Academy, I have a map of the bureaus, with the community policing map, so.
I'll have to look for my book.
Yeah.
One is West. Thanks.
And that's posted online, it's interactive, you can zoom in on your area and it'll tell you your beat.
So for example, you talked about potentially drawing lines in our neighborhood association, which is how we most frequently interact with policing, is when they come to like a meeting and give updates. There's like a little chunk of our neighborhood that's in a different beat.
Yep.
Is that common or?
Yes.
Okay, because my people ask me that at our neighborhood all the time. I
Yes.
was like, I'll ask somebody.
Yeah, you'll have, so like Patrol West will touch 3 districts. And then,
I'm at
but the beat's the same concept. So for example, like, Delano Delano divides at least two.
14 and 12.
Yeah, so 2 beats, 2 districts, actually, 2 council districts. So everything kind of does its own thing, really. The council districts aren't really correlated with bureaus, usually.
Can you help me understand the difference in the citation and the warning citations and traffic citations between the different bureaus? When we look at them, there's 600, 400, 300, and then like 1,000 out west for citation. So one thing is West is out there telling people fix stuff, but then you also see that they're doing more traffic citations too. Is there a reason for that? Have you guys been invited?
Yeah, so a large portion of this is going to be patrol officers and the traffic unit, which have 2 different strategies. A patrol officer will go write tickets when they have time, in between calls when they have time. Traffic officer, that's their job, show up that day and enforce at accident locations. So West Kellogg is going to get a lot of attention But there was, some officers out west who, were proactive in citations and their numbers were substantially higher, which, as you can see, drove up Patrol West numbers.
If you look at, I don't know if they have it now, but like a high accident locations, we've got West for 15 years and a lot of them are on West Side, you know. So we focus on a high accident locations more.
That's one of the things I was kind of wondering, was if there was a correlation between like your strategic plan and that's
So-
why you might see more.
We also have, neighborhood complaints in a database, people saying, hey, there's a speeder or whatever. And it's no secret we're trying to tackle street racing, and that is occurring predominantly out west. So
Not according to
That's-
my clock at 10 o'clock when I'm here.
Yeah. So that's getting a lot of attention.
Can you share with the board some different measures that WPD is taking to decrease some of these numbers? Or if there's anything that the board can do,
To decrease which numbers?
just like, cause there's a 5% increase within the last 28-day comparison, and then also a 7% increase, which, I mean, in terms of percentage, probably small. But if there's any measures that the WPD is looking into or trying to take.
Yeah, so we will shift our traffic enforcement to those locations. But we don't just rely on tickets to curb accidents. That's only effective if you get pulled over, if you see the cop there. A lot of times people go back to speeding or run in the red light or whatever. So we do work with traffic engineers. Maybe it's a light timing issue. Central and Ridge is always the example for that. If I can beat the first light on Ridge, I can beat the second one, I'm on Kellogg. Not Central and Ridge, Kellogg and Ridge. And so we know that, so we work with the engineers to hopefully curb some of that. It is not our desire to find a location like that and sit there and work it every single day. If you're not making a difference, you know, so we are looking at 5%, and the number may be slight, but that's still 40 accidents in 28 days. So 5% seems like a low number. Well, that's because we have 6,000 accidents a year. So 5%, 40, that's 40 accidents. So, you know, we try and push out messaging. Our traffic unit is constantly doing, I don't know if you follow them on social media, we'll tag them on our main social media. But they're constantly doing little like traffic quizzes of who has the right of way here, who should do what here. And some of it's just things that don't cause accidents, just how do you merge on a highway, who has the right of way, you know, simple stuff like that. So we try and push out messaging that we see as causing the issues. But we push out speeding messages all the time, but if you've driven on Kellogg or anywhere else, you see what we see.
Like I said, this construction area is probably.
80 and the 60.
I appreciate you bringing that up, because I think the sort of impetus for asking this data was we had reached the end of the 1-year traffic safety strategy. And so it's, I think, a bit disheartening to see that. I know that the 28 days is the best comparison, but looking at, say, past 90 data, 5-year average, or even year-to-date versus year-to-date, or year-to-date versus 5-year year-to-date average, is that even with this 1-year pilot, we're still seeing increases in accidents. And it illustrates that there's a broader design issue with our streets and our lights, and working with engineering is an important part of that, but it seems like we're trying to play whack-a-mole with the right accidents.
Yeah, and those are all true statements. Our traffic section is down an entire shift. So there's an entire shift of no enforcement. And then I don't think it's any secret the amount of calls patrol is answering, finding time or asking them on their 1 15-minute break they get to go write tickets and enforcement. That's a tough task to ask when they're short too. So not to make excuses, but again, we also don't want to rely on, well, let's staff traffic up the entire, and let's write tickets out of this problem either. I don't. We know internally, that when we do go to these red areas and target them with blue circles, the accidents go down. We know that, we can prove that statistically. The problem is, we also know when we disappear our blue circles from there, red circles reappear, so.
On Joshua's point, like I'm looking at this map, the last time our neighborhood got this map presented, it's been a while, maybe 5 or 6 years. Lincoln was a huge problem. I don't even see Lincoln on here where we live. So the road diet that they did going from 4 small lanes to 3 lanes with a big turn lane has clearly made a difference. Are we trying to use police as a backstop when this should be like public works that we're?
So we do work with them,
Okay.
but I mean, just like we have this board, I mean, we welcome any help and guidance with other things, other entities, other.
This may be a dumb question, but are there any, I guess, like, or has there been any discussion about any like alternatives to warning the traffic, like, and this might touch on some legality, I guess, but like mandating that they go to a driver's ed course or something like that, like, I don't know what that looks like. Like something that I'll just say I've heard people say, oh, I'll get a ticket, I'll pay it off, and I'll move on about my day. I'm not getting any. Yes, it's on your record, but it's not.
It's not a deterrent.
It's right. It's not a deterrent. Whereas now I'm having to take time out of my actual job to go to this driver's ed course because they're only open from X to Y. I don't know if that's a discussion. I don't even know if it's a possibility. I for sure am guilty at times of speeding. Yes, I do apologize.
They used to do that.
But, and I wouldn't want somebody to be
Stop
out
it
here.
at this point.
You might, hopefully it's over 5 years ago, statute of limitations. If I may just briefly address that. The city prosecutor's office has a robust traffic diversion program. And for certain offenses, to get the case diverted or not get a conviction for certain traffic offenses, defensive driving courses are required. So that is one piece of the process. It's not for every ticket, but.
To Faith's point, it does seem to me that we're trying to police over a problem that requires.
It's an engineering problem.
It's an engineering problem, and I think that's a conversation to have with our council members and the city's priorities, and that we can throw money at the police all we want, but even putting a cop on every major intersection isn't gonna stop us.
And I'll give you an example. We're talking about Eisenhower Parkway. I still call it Kellogg. But so that is West Side's high accident location for the last year with 109 accidents. There were 96 citations and it's like 16 warnings. So you can see in the New Market Squares right after it, those are all on the high ticket. That's number 4 on the amount of warning and citation tickets. So we are going to where those high accidents are occurring. Kellogg and West, Kellogg Meridian, and those are all the high ticket locations also.
And then on the chart on the top here, what does NIA stand for?
Non-injury accident.
Non-injury accidents.
I don't know where you're looking, but that's what it is gonna be.
I got you. And then there's also motor vehicle, and it says other, or MV, I presume is motor vehicle.
Yes.
Okay, and then there's a dash other. What are some examples of other?
Oh gosh, it's been a while since I wrote some tickets. I'd have to look that up. There's like objects falling, stuff like that. I'd have to look and see if that counts as an other. You're asking me to go back 15 years in my brain here. I'd have to look it up real quick on the computer.
No, you don't have to. I was just curious because I mean, animal, fixed objects, motor vehicle, and trend, those all make sense. I just was very curious to know what's.
Other has a specific, this is what other is. It's not just a random, like you don't pick one. It's specific. I would just have to look it up on what the definition is.
Tire piece. Tailpipe.
Yeah, that's
Right
what.
down.
Yeah, a lot of times.
Right, one of them is, and it's popular, is something falls out of a truck, you run over it, it damages your car, that's an accident. There's another, it's not a fixed object, that's an accident.
And just so you know, by Kansas definition, to be an MV, so a motor vehicle accident, there has to be over $1,000 worth of damage. Well, been to a body shop for any type of damage. That's, so you can see, so even if you hit a tire in the road or a pothole, if it damages your car over 1,000, that counts as a motor vehicle accident.
I guess the other thing is, these motor vehicle accidents, with the two categories of the non-injury accidents, are all of these motor vehicle accidents considered injury accidents then?
Are they injury accidents?
Yeah, cause I mean, there's two listed, non-injury accident, hit and run, and non-injury under 1,000.
No, so when I tell you that has to be over 1,000, there's three things that make it a motor vehicle. Injury, over 1,000, help me out. But anyway, if you just have an injury, you hit a pothole and it gives you a whiplash and you crawl and go to, and your car's damage is 500, that's a motor vehicle accident because there's an injury.
Oh, so it just needs one of those three.
Correct.
Okay, I see.
Yes. So
What's the statute of limitation on that?
for a pothole,
For the damage done to my car. 2 years back. All of a sudden my neck just started hurting. It'll be like,
Do we have a breakdown of demographics on these citations, or is that a piece of information?
so the demographics is only collected if the officer fills that out, which would either be by asking them a driver's license or the officer's perception, which we don't ask them to do. A lot of times the officer will leave it blank. And then what happens is the citation gets entered into Niche, the computer. Niche will, so if I don't know, I always use Odell as my example person. So if I stop Odell, but I don't fill out his race or sex or any of it, if he has a case in Niche where it has been inputted, it automatically connects it to the ticket and says, this is the guy you wrote, this is his demographics. So that's where traffic demographics come from, and that's why a lot of times when you give traffic demographics, there's like other or unknown. That means that person probably isn't even in the computer, and the officer didn't collect it on the traffic stop, they just issued the ticket, went about their day.
So they're not allowed to ask, or I mean, they ask, but they're not allowed to assume. And if the person's like, I'm not telling you, then it's just blank. And so our demographics by citation data is only as accurate as the information we get.
Correct.
It sounds like sometimes they don't necessarily ask.
Right.
What is the policy around that? Are they required to, or is it just
Nope.
if you have time?
If you wanna log it and put it down, have at it, but you know, that shouldn't be any basis of any stop anyway, so we don't need the data for it, so.
anything else on traffic data? Last we hold you super long this evening.
How often should we be, I don't wanna say should we be asking for this, but how often can we at this board expect to see this? I'm okay with quarterly.
It's in your rules as quarterly, I
Okay.
think, yeah.
Perfect. So the rules of quarterly, having this, we can compare it to something else.
Well, 28 days, there's less than 28.
Right.
I'm joking.
I don't think we wanna put Captain Cooley into that kind of pressure.
Are we looking to begin in November? If I'm doing my months right?
It'd be August to December.
Yeah, cause this is July, it's the last.
Yeah, we got off a little bit, so. I try and remember to do it quarterly, but I mean, I'll take it, if you guys remember, hey, it's due next month, so.
Anything else on traffic data before we move forward?
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Matt,
New business, anyone wants to select cases or anything of that nature?
the last page are, so we only have 4. Because Kathy Cooley, and Bam Bam's analysis.
I don't know if I necessarily want to put them on the agenda, but I do want to discuss that there are 3 sustained, what is the form? Findings of mishandling department property. Seems like odd.
What is the,
Oh, sorry, the numbers are,
I mean, what are you wanting to ask again?
I guess I don't, does that feel like a lot to other people? Or am I just looking?
Restate your question, I didn't quite catch it.
There are 3 sustained internal investigations for misuse of department equipment in this month, which to me feels like a particularly high amount. And so I am voicing my concern and also temperature testing room if that also rings any alarm bells for folks and warrants looking into the handling of.
It feels like a lot, but also based on what we heard from the last training academy, they're doing a better job of holding each other accountable. So I don't know which one
Yeah.
I would lean to. I would hope it was because they're holding each other more accountable, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I don't know anything about any of these cases unless you guys select them.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you that a lot of times that verbiage can be, well, I was gonna use Zach, I'll use Odell again. Arrested Odell and put his phone on my car and drove off. Or put my department phone on the car and drove off. So mishandling can be various things. I'm not saying that's what these 3 are, I'm just saying that is an example of something it could be.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be no surprise to
Yeah,
me.
it wouldn't be Odell's phone in that example, because it's department property, but it could have been my radio or something.
I would like the board to discuss 3 cases that I'd like to bring forward, not just Mr. Cunningham's, which I'll make a motion on, but 22 PSV 7076, which is at the top of the list, I believe. Which that's a falsehood. Which I said anytime it was racial profiling, excessive force or lying, I can bring forward. And then 24 PSV 5144. That's a crime, and it says sustained, and also those are both quite old, one is from 2022 and one is from 24, so I was just curious about both of those. And then 25 PSV 2127, complaint of racial profiling.
Is this for discussion?
Yeah, I'm just curious what you guys think, I would ask the board to.
I mean, for the external investigation, I presume that one's probably closed because they had to go through procedure for using that. Are you more so, and the only reason I'm asking is because it's already sustained, which sustained, remind me here, I need a little.
I think the same was that they found enough evidence that that it moved forward.
Okay, and so.
Things just be true.
Okay, and so you just wanted to review it walk me through the purpose of reviewing that one.
The purpose of reviewing that one would be if it's criminal conduct prohibited and sustained, what was the outcome of
This
this?
is 44.
This is
44.
5144, yeah.
The second one on the list.
I mean, I don't know that there's anything else for us to, like, it was sustained. I'm not sure what information you're wanting to gather from it. It sounds like.
See if they still work.
Yeah, it was off.
I mean, yeah, it's to see if they still work for the department, so if that's a question that can be answered without reviewing the case, I'm okay with that.
But we would need to review it to go into executive session to be able to discuss
Correct.
that. So.
Can I ask this kind of a general question, then what is the department's general policy with regard to an officer who is convicted of a misdemeanor crime?
not specifically in a case. Is there a policy on that? Is there? Yeah, so it's an e-violation, so it's suspension up to termination.
But it's not an automatic termination.
No, I believe A starts, I'd have to pull it up, I believe A starts at its, yeah, 15 days to termination, so.
I mean, I guess it would be interesting to look into the policies regarding character crime, misdemeanor or felony, and you.
I would like to point out that police officers are just humans too, and they all, I shouldn't say they all, people unfortunately do things out of work hours, and, you know, we're getting an opportunity to see what they investigated and they sustained it versus, I think I'd be more interested if it was unsustained or was something else. It feels like the department, they should, I guess, but maybe we would find that they didn't do any punishment.
Yeah, I'm just curious, because we don't ever know, we very rarely see a sustained on things like this, so it would be, I'm curious.
And then can I ask on the 22 PSP case, is specifics on that?
That was, I just made a commitment to the community I represent that anytime there's a lie, falsehood, alleged racial profiling or use of force, that I would look into those.
I would be inclined to
Departed from the.
Right.
My inclination is, I think the third one, the 25 PSB 2127, I would support having us look into that one. I'll probably propose the other two. Just the first one's too old, and I don't. The phenomenon that really caused me a tremendous amount of concern. And the second one, I think, is because just the misdemeanor crimes run the gamut, and as you pointed out, I mean, this was off duty, and it appears it was handled in some way.
I will argue though, with it being, for the first one, 7076, with it being dated back into 2022 and it's just now being completed, I am very interested to know what took
3 years.
3 years. That would be my interest in review the case.
3 years to be unfounded as well, is a long.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And I can't disagree. I mean, maybe that's something we could get at least, or somebody could look into that part of it without doing a complete review of it, maybe come back.
I think I'm okay with what you did last time, Captain Cooley, where some of them you just gave us a
Overview.
very quick overview, but it's information that we can't discuss in an open public meeting.
Yeah, I don't have a problem doing that as long as I know, like if there's specific, like if you have a specific question for that. That way I'm not scouring the case. The only one that really is what Greg said, and that is why did it take so long? Because again, otherwise, this is probably before the chief was the chief. Lots happened since then. It's obviously not a lot of information here, but I hadn't thought about that point that, you know, obviously this went on for quite a while and might be helpful for us in the future to know, you know, is this an example of something and why it would have taken so long? Yeah, whatever you guys vote on.
So to make an incredibly long motion unless there's other discussion, I would move that 22 PSV 7076 be reviewed to determine why the case took 3 years. I would 24 PSV 5144 to determine what happened to that officer, what the punishment was, and then a full review of 25 PSV 2127 racial profiling, and then Mr. Cunningham's PSV 253567 requested by citizen.
I just make a small amendment to that motion that when we review 5144, that we also review the policy concurrently. I feel like that is a necessary part of that discussion.
The policy around
Misdemeanor crimes by officers, and even we could also take a look at off-duty conduct as well.
Madam Vice Chair, just so I can clarify, we can't just do a policy review in executive sessions. A policy review is, you know, just the outside. I don't want anyone to think we're having that policy review in executive session.
so
That wasn't your intent, but I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Make it clear.
So if we don't second that, then that will fail.
You already seconded.
I seconded your motion.
Oh, yeah. Is there a second to his review of policy during executive session?
So,
Okay.
at the same meeting, at the
Yeah.
same
So
meeting.
That's the same
that would be a separate motion then. Are you okay with that?
I suppose.
It doesn't-
It didn't happen. She said it didn't happen. We just rolled it up. Keep
And I have
moving.
one question for Jennifer too. And would you'll be able to provide us information as to what, who the officer is or anything like that, but what the result was with regard to the officer's current status?
Yes.
Is that, okay?
Yeah.
We only allowing one person to make options on what we can recommend.
I think
for
we need to
review.
resolve them.
No, I was just doing a motion, you guys are welcome to forward any motion that you want.
Okay, like I did several, so like are we?
I think,
I think we should go ahead.
You need to vote on
Vote
that.
on this one, the one that's on the table, reviewing those three,
I just didn't wanna lose my opportunity.
four,
to-
because of citizens, and then open setting to review the policy.
Okay, so in that case, Bob Roberts, I need to withdraw mine.
He wants to take it out. This is on the table.
I'm gonna withdraw mine, and that'll be a separate motion after the fact to add to the agenda.
She said we didn't have to, we could have it all.
Well, no one seconded it, so I'm gonna,
Okay, to review, it's, the first part of the motion is 22 PSB 7076 to determine why the investigation took 3 years, 24 PSB 5144 to find out what happened with that officer, or the punishment that could be part of that discussion. And then 25 PSB 2127 racial profiling, and 25 PSB 3567 citizen-led complaint. That's just a review of the motion.
So that was proper motion, then you seconded it.
now it's open for discussion, including amendments.
well, and I think, are you wanting another case to be reviewed?
Yeah, you could just add it to the, amend it and add another one or five.
Okay, Article 0 or 6, or.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so discussion,
So we're done. So
Just
that's
gonna
it.
make it separate.
Okay. Go ahead, then I'll.
No, I think she's gonna make a different motion after this one.
We're gonna finish this.
Okay, so it's been moved, it's motion is seconded, we had a discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any of those who are opposed? Motion carries. Right, now,
I'm interested in seeing the third one from the bottom, 25 PSB 1610. We have an issue that complained from an officer named Ruth, failed to complete a thorough investigation of a domestic violence, public safety issue concern. There were some pieces that were exonerated and sustained. I'm just interested in seeing kind of how that worked and the different, I mean, because it's different outcomes for like the same case, so probably different charges.
Make a motion, I'll second that.
Is that a motion?
Yeah, that was a motion.
Oh, then second.
Just
talk about it.
discussion here. I can't remember, and I could be wrong here. Typically, when you have conduct, something in this sense here where it says conduct unbecoming an officer, and then you have general duty responsibilities, and then it's repeated, is that because there's more than one officer involved? Is that why it's listed more than one?
Oftentimes on this sheet, yes, but again, I don't know what all these are, so I can't tell you that for sure, but generally when I get into them, that is what is happening.
Because my envisionment here is that it's one officer's behavior was exonerated. I'm not saying that
Yeah, no,
but my envisionment here is that one officer was exonerated and then a different officer's behaviors was sustained. Could be wrong, that's just my, so that's all the discussion.
That officer is plural, not singular.
Say again.
That's plural, not singular.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that, oh, okay.
Okay, okay, good.
It's more the not
a thorough
authority
investigation and a safety issue.
Absolutely.
So-
Catches my attention.
So do we want to have a thorough review, a complete review of
I
this?
would like a review.
Okay, fantastic, so it was moved, you made a motion, it was seconded.
I have one more discussion piece here, so sorry. So if you're doing that, then is it just that call specifically because two above that one is also another domestic violence?
I chose one out of the list
Just
and
one
it
out to
has,
see.
because I'm looking to
Okay.
see if there's what's
Okay.
going on and then
Okay.
looking through.
I just
I just
wanted,
picked one rather than giving us a lot.
for sure.
It's the only one that had sustained and not sustained. And-
Okay, makes sense.
This might be impossible because there's a lot of folks that are WPD, but it's absolutely not the same officers in both of those cases. Because that would be a bigger problem if there's a pattern showing up.
Well, but, I mean, that's probably a think that's beyond what we would ever be able, but especially because we're not allowed to know the identity.
I've been on, since I've been on the board, we've reviewed cases where we found that officers were involved in multiple different situations. So it is very possible.
So if there is a pattern of officers, because this is not the first time we've had multiple mishandlings of domestic violence on our sheet, had multiple involvement, so
And we focused on other issues, that's why I'm bringing one forward finally,
Yeah.
is that I.
Would you entertain a friendly amendment that we determine if these two cases have the same
I
officers?
wonder if that's a possibility.
There's a,
or
can
just a pattern.
we don't have to necessarily review the other case just to see if the same
Some
officers
are
were involved.
I'm still trying to log the others.
And maybe it's like, it's, maybe 1341, 1610 are listed as officers, but if like 1610s are, had like multiple in the last 6 months, well, then that's what speaks to it even.
It's this 25-16-10.
Okay, so good with discussion, we have more discussion on,
I don't think,
25 PSB 1610.
did she take the friendly amendment?
That's why I'm asking.
You said yes,
Okay,
okay.
we're gonna amend it to see if there's a connection there. Okay, so, wanna restate?
Okay, I make a motion that we look at 25 PSB 1610, coming forward for review. I would also like to ask that, 25 PSB 1349 be pulled to determine if the officers are the same. If the officers are the same, I would like to look at 1349. If the officers are different, a single one of 25 PSB 1610 coming forward.
I would also second that.
Now, my only discussion
Discussion.
here, I apologize, we confidence, but when we're saying, and I meant to ask you this, Faith, too, when we're saying to look at these, we're just meaning to add to the list, right? We're
Yes,
not, okay.
correct.
And I'll talk later about that. Okay, so sorry. I'm through.
So, motion, seconded, discussion, all in favor? Anyone opposed? You gonna oppose? One opposed? Still here. All right,
Now my question here, sorry, 25 PSB 3567 that was brought forth by the citizen, is it not policy to put that to the top of the list for review?
one more time. Does it go to the top of the list?
Citizen review,
The citizen one,
or citizen requested,
3567.
so that'll be at the top.
Top of the list,
Well,
top of our
no,
list.
because there's another one from last month,
Oh, the
Mr. Mazur's would be
Mazur.
before that.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we're not pushing theirs further back.
Anyone else looking at cases before I ask for public comment? I wanna make sure we have public comment. You good? All right, thank you.
I have a question on the 1610 motion.
See if it's the same officer. 1349, yes, review.
She's on
Okay,
it.
but what about what do you want me to do with 1610 if it's regardless?
1610 is a full review coming forward,
Yeah, and then if the other one is connected,
You
then
didn't review it.
review that one as well.
Got
connected by officer.
Connect box, absolutely, yes, sir.
So there's either one work or two works, Captain.
Good, Karen?
It's either one work or two work, depending on what you're
Appreciate
finding.
that.
Before we go to public comment, I think this is where I would make the motion that we add to our docket in the future to review the policy around misdemeanors committed outside of work hours and then general off-duty conduct. Then I also wonder too, over to be specific, the domestic violence training and how those training policies around those. It's worthwhile looking at it since we're having a discussion about it now.
Yeah, I would second that.
Is it discussion?
Yes.
Just real quick, yes. Mr. Chair, okay, while that motion I'm fine with, never mind.
No, what's up? Good.
I just wanna make sure, I believe last month we talked about adding a space for policies to policy motions to be presented, and I just wanted to make sure that was added on the agenda for future, so that board members have the space to. Is it on
Just to
there?
point out, this one does have policy discussion on there, and I believe our amazing deputy clerk added a section for policy discussion, so we
So-
should get policy discussion as an agenda.
So I'm ahead of myself, I will make that motion later.
I think you can, well, I'm fine with voting on it now, so we don't have to do it.
Yeah, cause it's new business, so.
Okay, so, all right, so your motion,
Motion to, in future meeting, consider the off-duty conduct misdemeanors committed by officers as well as domestic violence training and policies, investigation policy.
is the move, do we have a second?
I think so.
Ms. Stephanie, you already second, discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Great.
And those policies are going to have to come, so sorry, from the department, because I don't know those policies, so if one of the people from the department can send that to me, I can send it to the rest of the board.
Before we move on to that policy discussion, I just really wanna mention quickly that, the city manager's office did reach back out to PPMC. She contacted both of us, and I was supposed to get kind of an informal poll to see if you guys would prefer to have a strategic planning session with this board on like a Thursday during the day that would just start our meeting earlier and add a couple hours, or have it on a Saturday. Just trying to plan and make sure she can get all the parties involved that need to be there. Which would be easier for you?
Long meeting on Thursday.
Yeah.
Long meeting on Thursday, I mean, I'm saying, you poll the vote, let's get it over with. If you wanna have a meeting on Thursday, signal,
If that's the.
or if you wanna have a meeting on Saturday. Saturday is my busiest day of the week, that's National Planning Human Day, so. If you don't joke.
Wait, can we say that one more time? Who would prefer to do Saturday?
That's National Planning Human Day.
Who would prefer to do it during the workday on Thursday? Okay, so Thursday.
Thursday?
Sorry.
Fantastic, so that means we would have to discuss the time.
Yeah, so what all LaShonda's gonna do is take our conversations with, Odell's gonna follow up with her. And plan a session. If the ideal would be to have it before December so that we can move into the new year with some sort of plan on what we need on our agenda for training. People that we need to work with, departments we need to work with. She wants to have something in place, so we're not pushing this out into next year again, so.
So when she reaches out to me, so since we're gonna have before we have our meeting, are we gonna have afternoon meeting where we start at?
It would be in replacement of a meeting.
I thought that it would start the early meeting.
Yeah.
Well, it would, but it would be, to not task our time too much, her suggestion, and I agree with her, would be in place of a meeting for that month. We would have our strategic planning session, which is still the business of the board, so it's not like.
We would have to give up two Thursdays and still have our meeting, we just have alternate on Thursdays, which is.
And the other thing we need to probably figure out is the third, I don't believe, they're checking, but I believe the Thursday in November is Thanksgiving Day.
It is.
The Thursday in December is Christmas.
Well,
We inverted it at the end of last
already-
year to move that to the third.
Okay, all right.
So
We've
that's
already
been
taken care of
addressed. That was actually done by Mr. Van Dyke, who did not wanna come in on the holiday.
Correct.
Don't even go forward.
Chris really wanted to hear.
So Thursday afternoon meeting, standalone meeting, not a citizen review board extension. A Thursday standalone meeting. That's where I'm going, sir.
She was thinking like lunch till when we were.
They can bring us.
Because if we, I'm not gonna lie to you, if we are to do, if we're gonna do a Thursday meeting, and we have a long training meeting, and then have our citizen review board meeting, that's a long day.
Chairman,
So,
our November meeting is November 13th.
November 13th.
I think was it the second Thursday of those holiday months?
I believe
Is that
so.
what we did?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
I would probably miss both those meetings.
November and December.
Yeah, I have another meeting out of town the second Thursday of every month.
When we reply back to her, we're gonna ask her to put together some questions for people that just can't make it, cause there are gonna be some people that can't get off work.
But here's the thing, if it's a standalone meeting, it doesn't have to be on Thursday. You know, you see what I'm saying? So if it's a standalone
It's
meeting,
honestly just the second Thursday of the month. I
right,
can't
so
go extra.
if it's a standalone meeting, it doesn't have to be on Thursday. So what days of the week are off limits for everybody? Wednesdays are Bible study night, You know, it's technically off limits for me, but I can miss 5% if I had to, if it's something greater than. So is there a day of the week that is totally off limits?
Workday or evening time?
Evening.
So the way she
If it's
presented
a
it
standalone meeting,
was a half day during the workday on a Thursday or a Saturday half day. That's how she presented it to me.
so we're talking noon to 3 o'clock?
Noon to 4, probably. Normal half days.
So only on Thursday.
So
That's what she, because it's when we would normally do.
What if we have?
I'll just reply back to her, whatever your comments are. I'll just tell her not Saturday and she can push
should
forward from
we
there.
do a doodle poll
Thank you.
where
She's
people?
gonna put out a poll.
Okay.
They just wanna know Thursday or Saturday, so I'm gonna guess that means during the week or on the weekend. So if everybody is during the week, I'll let her do the finding the information, see what works best.
I think I think we can do a doodle poll or some other thing rather than spending a long time.
I mean, they're PPMC, they got it.
Gotcha.
To do this.
We'll do it like that, however y'all wanna do it.
Do we need to open the public comment for these things now?
Nah, he said he not in a second, already asked him. Yeah, yeah. You know, he had something, he come right on up. We in good shape. Policy review, or policy discussion, 905, Brady Giglio disclosure.
Traffic data, the only thing Kathy included had as well. I didn't see it on the agenda.
Did you have anything else other than traffic?
Dr. Berger, and I can't remember the other, Skinner, would like to come either September or October. And talk to the board about the traffic study.
Oh, the city manager.
So I don't, as you guys build the agenda, which I think is later, just.
Okay.
I don't wanna do it super fast.
Ready.
All I need is kids effort, 10:45.
Sure. Go.
Ready, Giglio?
She come.
Oh, okay.
Either warm up or introduction, just wait for me to go.
Ready. You'll jump in.
Okay, I'll jump in. Okay, members of the board, thank you for the opportunity to talk about Brady Giglio. This is policy 905 in the City Police Department Policy Manual. Its title is Brady Giglio disclosure. Disclosure is the key word here. And it is a very brief policy. There are two major duties under this policy. One, for every WPD officer individually to disclose, report to PSB any information which may impact or change their individual status with WPD. And then once that member notifies PSB, their duties fulfilled, then PSB, the second part of this, PSB must notify the prosecutor of any potentially incriminating material. And that prosecutor is US Attorney, District Attorney's Office, and City Prosecutor. So that's the policy in a nutshell. End of my presentation. But then the law behind it is maybe what you're interested in. Just a brief background on Brady Giglio, if that's what the board is designing. So there's the policy, but why do we have the policy? This is a unique policy because the Brady Giglio duty is on prosecuting attorneys. It is out of federal to US Supreme Court cases, and I'll just give a little history of that. So in 1963, the US Supreme Court ruled in Brady versus Maryland that a prosecutor has a duty to turn over to a defendant, upon request of that defendant, evidence which is material either to guilt or to punishment. And failure to do so violates the defendant's due process. And this is material that is exculpatory evidence. It must be material, it must be exculpatory. And there are examples of that, actual examples of what are material and exculpatory under Brady. Any evidence inconsistent with an element of the crime or the defendant's guilt, failure of a witness to identify a defendant, information that links someone other than the defendant to the crime, information casting doubt upon the accuracy of any evidence, and any information favorable and material to the sentencing phase. So there's that under the 1963 Brady case. Then in 1972, in the US Supreme Court case of Giglio versus United States, this went another step further and said a prosecutor has a duty, when requested, to disclose evidence of government witnesses, normally police officers, but not only police officers, regarding the credibility of these witnesses. These are the credibility. So the court had held when reliability of a given witness may determine guilt or innocence, then non-disclosure of evidence could be reversible error. So this now talks about impeachment evidence. And so examples of impeachment, and this is more in the prosecutor arena to determine, but impeachment evidence could be inconsistent statements of witnesses the prosecution intends to call, all plea agreements entered into by the government in this case or related cases with any witness the government intends to call, any favorable dispositions of criminal charges pending against the witness the prosecutor intends to call, offers or promises made or other benefits provided directly or indirectly to any witness in exchange for cooperation or testimony, including, and there's a laundry list there. So that's the difference there in Giglio. There's a few more examples, but out of sense of time, I'll move along. Then in 1976, Giglio was required to expand prosecutors even if the defendant doesn't request this information to disclose exculpatory evidence. So even in the absence of a request. And then in 1985, another US Supreme Court case came along, and this is interesting, imposed an affirmative duty on the prosecutor to learn of any favorable evidence known to the others acting on the government's behalf, including police, and a resulting duty to disclose evidence to the defense. So another further duty, prosecutors must actually investigate and learn of any favorable evidence known. And so the court said in Kyle's that even if the prosecutor had been unaware of the exculpatory evidence, since the police knew and they were part of the prosecution team, a new trial was warranted and that information must be released. So what does that mean for WPD? WPD obviously is part of the prosecution team. Officers under our policy have an individual duty to report this information to PSB, and information may impact their status. PSB then notifies the prosecution, and that's kind of the history of that. So that's it in a very short nutshell. I'm happy to go further, but I want to make sense of the time.
So is this, okay, so if there's a record of a complaint and it goes into their personnel file, is that something that goes away after a certain time? Like if the prosecutor says, all right, I need to look up Officer A to see if they have whatever.
It really never goes away. This
Okay.
prosecution is, and it doesn't revolve around the discipline received, it revolves around what the prosecutor knows and what actually happened.
Well, I mean, but isn't the disciplinary file, doesn't that include what they did? Or is there a different way that that's?
Well, that may be one source. There may be other things that happen outside of the file that is exculpatory. There may be others, but that is true. That is, the file is one source, but that is not usually. It usually comes from PSB. And maybe you have something to add about the process, PSB a little bit more. But there is as a matter of fact, the process. There are regular meetings with PSB and the prosecutors of state, city, and federal courts.
Or just mean insofar as the files themselves, don't those files have a certain period of time before it doesn't count as multiple infractions, it can start the clock again. So if the DA is looking into that, would that be 1 or 7 or?
That is a different matter. That's how they calculate discipline. It's how reckoning periods and disciplinary matters. I would say somewhat irrelevant for the Beatty Giglio to disclose. But whether something doesn't really drop off.
Okay.
Yeah,
Honestly,
it's your character.
If you
Can-
kick, if
can
the officer
this-
kicked their dog, speak that out, but that's not.
If it's
not
7
fun.
years old and we're just now learning about it, he's disciplined, it's still relevant, disclosed, it must be disclosed, court can decide the weight of evidence.
Even if the officer kicked their dog.
I think that's just, it needs to be evaluated by the prosecutors.
So I just wanna make sure I understand, this Brady Giglio is saying that police officers have to disclose anything that might at some point come up, even in their personal life, like a misdemeanor or whatever, traffic violation. It goes to PSB, PSB investigates and makes a determination, so it's.
That's policy 905, and that's exactly what it says, it's very brief.
Policy 905 has been sent to all of your emails.
Oh, it's in the email.
And so this intersects with our work here, particularly as it relates to cases. So if they violate policy 905, that would show up as perhaps insubordination or conduct unbecoming. Because we've seen them, I think, where in the review outcome, it's been like they didn't do their duty in court. It could be a Brady Giglio violation. Or am I misunderstanding?
I don't know what policy violation it would fall under if they don't disclose under 905. That I don't know that scheme, but if they don't do their duty in court, what do you mean?
Like they don't properly disclose information,
Okay, that's
or
that's
they,
another disciplinary matter.
Yeah.
Could be pretty, I guess that they just didn't tell PSB learns of it. Would you say that's the process?
Yeah, so once a PSB learns of it, they review the investigation, right? And then anything that they feel needs to be disclosed, whether they feel it's Brady Giglio or not, they don't make that determination. They meet with, the law said, the US attorney, the district attorney, and city law, they meet. And that group decides if it meets Brady Giglio, not PSB.
gotcha.
It's very similar to hate crime. Okay, we identify that this fits the element of a hate crime, we present it over to the FBI as, here, we think this means, it's up to them to decide if it means. It's the same concept. We believe this is something you should know, Brady Giglio board, we present it. Any other questions? Vote.
This may not be explicitly covered under 605, but I'd love to have Ken or Jason's input. There may be some levels of dishonesty from an officer that we understand that were maybe less intentional or maybe a lower level. And we find out that there's a really good way to remove that officer from dealing with the public to where they maybe get the proverbial desk job and they can still serve in the department for many, many years. And that dishonesty in dealing with a citizen had no ability to distract from their job in a different capacity. Whereas there may be some other types of violations where it would be, you lied to a judge in court, we can't trust you doing that, and we've decided that we no longer want you on the department. Is that something that goes side by side with this policy, or is that addressed in a different way?
Yeah, it goes with the policy, and what you're explaining is exactly correct. There are some that it may be a disclosure from years and years and years ago that doesn't prohibit them from working for the department, but they do need to be removed from taking a case or testifying or something like that. And then we do have those that the board agrees we can never take anything from them again, nothing, they can't touch a case, they can't nothing. And then we decide internally, should we retain in a position or what's the situation, so.
I think that's what the citizens would want to hear, so I appreciate that.
Correct.
So in a nutshell, the reason why we would hear all these cases have to be reviewed is because an officer was found to have done something that met the level of the Giglio. Is that right? So when we're hearing about, I haven't been here that I've seen, but I've seen articles where every case that officer touched had to be reviewed because they violated this. Is that correct?
Is your question if someone is deemed to be Brady Giglio, then all of their cases need to be reviewed?
Yes, is that what's happening when we hear about those things? Because media doesn't do a great job of saying, hey, this is this. So is that the Brady list? Would that be officers that have been found, any cases that they testified on would have to be reviewed again?
Well, that's a prosecution
Oh, okay.
arena issue, not policy 905 so much as
Okay.
prosecution.
And the Brady list for Kansas, is that public?
Brady list for Kansas?
Or for Central County, I don't know what the breakdown is. If they're,
No, it's not public because it's a personnel matter. So
Okay.
what happens is as they're gonna testify, they are obligated to disclose that Brady Giglio, that, hey, this officer's Brady Giglio, they're obligated to disclose that to the prosecutor. The prosecutor then takes the matter up with the defense or the judge, however the process is gonna work. And either enters the courtroom or it doesn't, that's all through legal matters.
I have, it's called a prosecution packet basically, and I thought the city does the same thing, but the detective or whatever thing presents that to the prosecutor. And the prosecutor just basically goes through it and then provides that packet to the defense. And then the defense decides they're gonna use something like that. Then they sit down with the prosecutor, Jennifer's office, or whoever. Say, here's what we think we should be able to use in court. Jennifer says, we agree, then that's where it goes. If they don't, then that's when you have the pretrial motions.
Okay. Any other thoughts, comments, questions? Move forward. All right. Subcommittee updates.
Will that be me? All right, so in front of you guys, you have the proposed Wichita Citizens Review Strategic Plan. We started this several months ago. We decided that we wanted to have action items to move forward. We started with small bite-sized chunks, which if you guys remember, we had a presentation on a PowerPoint to start going out in the community along with the speech. The goal is to also take that PowerPoint, that talk, small bite-sized chunk, maybe be up on the website. And so that leads us to now we're ready to go forward, do a little bit more. We've got a hold of the city manager maybe to come help us determine where we're wanting to go. I took each of our duties as assigned by whatever our founding thing is, I don't know, bylaw, whatever the city thing is that makes us official. Ordinance, I was like, there's a word for this. The ordinance is on the left, and then I have some proposed action items on the right. It would be for this committee to evaluate, are these action items that you value and want us to do going forward? Are there other items that should be included? And then I will take it back to the subcommittee, which would include Ms. Martin and Mr. Van Dyke. And also Ms. Smart, that's today, because she's here.
We should also have this document, do you have a hard copy of this that I can send to PNC for when they do our board retreat?
You mean an electronic, right? Yes. Yes, I do have an electronic that I can send.
If you could send that to Odell and I so that we could.
I'll send it to everybody so that there is that. I just didn't know if there were any updates or things you guys wanted.
I do have a question on number 2. It says address any information that has been discussed in public forums. Is that?
I think when we had met as a subcommittee, there was some concerns about maybe news articles that were released or social media like Facebook if there were trends. A good example recently that we did bring up was the incident that occurred out east that made Facebook. And so while those issues may be something we can bring back. Okay. So looking for not specific comments from a constituent or somebody in the community, but general trends that we're seeing and other platforms.
Okay, because like, for example, somebody sent me something about flock, that a community got rid of their flock because they released information to federal authorities when they said they weren't going to, so they got rid of it. Would that be an example of something we could ask, even though we review flock policy? Would that be an example of something that like, hey,
I guess we didn't really identify how, I was thinking public forums related to Wichita and people that we're serving within our districts or within the city limits. But that is not specified here, so I guess we should discuss a range.
yeah, because I'm not saying specifically we need to make comment on that article, but I think that's that's the things that people will bring forward. Hey, did you see that this is happening here? Maybe that's us too, and they don't know that. I mean, even though we reviewed it and Wichita has stood 10 toes down and said we are not going to release information regarding immigration, things like that. I think the public still doesn't know what things we do sometimes, so we might want to flush out number 2 a little bit more.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of work that needs to be done, so I appreciate you bringing that up.
No, I think it's great. I mean, you've captured a lot of conversations I've had, so it's really good.
And then you'll see an implementation timeline. I'm not sure it's been since we did this, but for some reason I decided to break it out in 25, 26, 27, things that we were going to do. such as adopt the strategic plan in 25, so we've got a little bit of time left to get that completed. And then just continue to review and make sure that we are making needs and goals.
And I would say 4.1 is that, the board retreat that LaShonda's trying to put together for, or I would say WSU is trying to put together for us.
Yeah.
That PPNC previous, and this is not specifically Dr. Bruce, this is the strategic plan that the city paid for, I think would fall under 4 as well. So not just Dr. Bruce's report, but trends that she wants the board to see if it's something that we would include in our strategic plan.
I guess we have like another month. If you guys wanna think about this, you guys can send me an email individually. I can update and we can present next month unless somebody else has a different plan or action item.
Thanks.
No other thoughts or comments? No other board discussions?
I don't know where this falls, and this may be you guys giving me information, but we talked a lot about like, here's a binder, like Stephanie's a brand new board member. What training you would need to take, what information should you know, what websites you should be a part of, or information you need to read up before you join the board. Somehow I'd like to see that like packet. Okay, so you're a new board member, like that packet.
Orientation.
Yeah, like a employee orientation, but like some people don't, so city managers and city council appointing people know what they're actually getting into.
I do have, outside of this secretary notes.
Position descriptions, yeah, we should flesh out like exactly what each position does more than board members.
In orientation.
That's what you're talking about, right? Like,
No, I actually have notes.
Okay.
Yeah, just to hold us all accountable, because we have said that we're gonna do things, and I just wanna make sure we're doing those. Couple of things, I just wanna remind first and foremost Captain Cooley, that we're supposed to have an update for Paige. Don't ask me what email she sent, because I can't remember off the top of my head. But there's a few citizens that are awaiting responses from me for next month. And so I just want to remind you to keep on your radar to have something update for us on September. Because in my notes it said that we have sent it to WPD for them to further review and come back with their thoughts. There's also supposed to be an update regarding the non-emergency line that was talked about at last meeting.
And that's on hold for right now, while we work through some stuff with.
Still on hold, presumably still on hold in September too. Okay, I'll check back in September before I send that email update. Pages, I can't remember what the other one.
it's in our minutes.
It is.
She was the one that, the email that we read about clothing
Oh,
and
yes. Recommendations.
blankets and,
Yes.
paper,
Thank you.
blankets for us.
Thank you. And so if you have something today, great. I don't want it today, because I'm gonna email it in September, because I'm gonna keep my own method here. I also want to remind the board that we have asked to review the tattoo policy, the mental health, or excuse me, the ICT-1 policy, as well as the juvenile policy, in addition to the policies that Josh wants to review. I'm gonna put that in the chair and the vice chair's hands on how they want to formulate that.
Say that again, ICT-1, the juvenile.
ICT-1 policy and the
Tattoo
juvenile policy. Those, per the minutes, are supposed to come from Captain Cooley. So I don't know if Captain Cooley, if you're still working on sending that to me, and I'll send that to the board. I can probably just Google search it like I've been the other policies and send it out if you want me to take it.
Do you have the link to all of our policies?
I don't, I have Google though.
Oh.
Yeah. I've just been Googling everything, and I'll just say like juvenile policy, or today I typed in Brady Giglio policy, and that's how I found policy 905.
Is the link to the policy something that we can
I'm sending it to
put in our email?
Are you doing it?
Yeah.
I've done it. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure it's.
The pages, the link though is extensive, of the policies, right? That's a little bit extensive. No, it's
straight up to the link and it gives you the list of all the policies.
Oh, okay.
Just like that.
Okay, so I mean, if that's easy, y'all can do your own research and I don't gotta send it to y'all. I don't mind though.
Send it to me.
But I think she sent it to the board. But again, so that's 3 policies plus 2 policies that Josh recommended. So I'm just asking that whenever you two decide that it's gonna be on the agenda, let me know ahead of time so I can let the rest of the board know which policy. And I believe that is.
So in building our next agenda for next month, we have a lot.
I don't anticipate that we
No, what I'm
discussed.
saying, what I'm saying is we have a lot and we need to start trying to get some of those things,
Yeah.
you know, so our agendas can kind of be balanced,
And that's
right?
why I tried to ask that we do discuss a little bit about what's on the agenda for the next month. So that the deputy clerk knows, of course, and that way I know what to send out.
I mean, that's
Per
something,
my notes, it says September to review the tattoo policy, and we were supposed to review the mental, or the juvenile policy and ICT 1 policy tonight. But my notes aren't always correct, so.
I'm just gonna clarify, that's policy 305 on the juvenile. That's juvenile arrests.
Okay.
so if we, not that they're not all important, if we took a stab at one of them for next meeting, which one would you all be most inclined that you wanna hear right away? Juvenile, tattoo,
ICT
ICT 1,
in year 2.
And then the other
and the other 2.
Misdemeanors.
Misdemeanors on
and
off duty,
And
yeah.
then domestic violence investigation.
So we need one of those on the agenda for next month.
I propose the juvenile one because of all those last ones.
Juvenile, let's do.
policy 305.
Is that okay? Is it okay with you, sir?
I will say, I think we wanted to review the policy, juvenile policy tonight, because it tied in the relation to tonight's case.
Do we have it ready for tonight?
I mean, if you want to glance at it, but tonight's case was officer used force to remove female juvenile from facility, and so that's why we planned it in coordination.
So do we not wanna review that case tonight?
Well, it's a 13-page policy.
It is a 13-page policy.
Yeah.
So you suggest we put off the case until?
You guys could request it, so.
We have to make it.
We can make a motion to
Take
table it till our next meeting, we actually can. So it's the pleasure of the body. We'll make a motion on this.
Well, so I guess we should talk about the agenda then.
Yes, we will now.
How would we fill the rest of this evening then if we're going to put the case on?
We can look at the case and then I'm more than happy to go into executive session and look over the case. We can glean from what we can get from it tonight. That way we're not, trying to just fill the air and then you can always revisit.
And make a determination. We've done that before where we
Absolutely.
rolled over the determination to the next month.
Absolutely. So
We just have a lot that we're doing and I don't wanna give up time.
yeah, okay. So go ahead and review the case and go from there.
Do we want to discuss the agenda before we do that?
Yes, so we have several, I know we have several cases in log, once we add a future date, that we definitely want to, I don't wanna see the log get so backed up again. So we look at the case that we wanna definitely get the two citizen cases, right? We had one last month, we had one tonight. I think we probably can all agree with get those taken care of, right?
those 2 cases for next month.
Those two cases for the following month.
I agree.
Is there any training or presentations coming up that I don't have in my notes? Because we could do additional policy review versus having a training and a policy review. We don't have a training coming up.
I don't have any training in my notes.
Is there any training that we've asked for that it's not on my notes?
I think we've done it all.
Okay, I think so too. We got to August to do a training, that's pretty good. I would just ask maybe that for September, agenda 1 is taken off and it goes straight into public agenda, new business, and then we do policy discussion, policy 305. And then, do you guys wanna do tattoo or the ICT one?
So I got a
It
time.
was the tattoo, wasn't there? Because it was.
September did, per my notes, it was tattoo. And the only reason I'm pushing for the tattoo is I wanna get away from feeling like we're a board that has to correct, for lack of a better term, police behavior and not also support the police department. And if we remember correctly, I wanted to review the tattoo policy to figure out areas in which we could support people applying for the police department, and seeing if there's any areas in policies that we could review to help the police department gain more applicants.
So what if number one is actually policy 305, and then we make our public determination? We go into executive session for 5 or 10 minutes to review the case that we're doing tonight, come out of executive session, we review the policy, we heard the case, and then we do that in number one, and then we go into our regular agenda.
I would say public agenda first, just in.
Well, yeah.
Oh, is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
So with our executive sessions, I think you all remember that we wanted to get most of the public stuff out first before we went to the executive session, because we lose people, you know what I'm saying? So as long as, if we're gonna go into a executive session, as long as we keep that time kind of short, so those who are here, you know, because we want their public opinion as well.
So in addition to moving our recommendations for the case we're gonna hear tonight, do we also want to hear Ann Cunningham in that at the top of the meeting too, and then do policy afterwards?
Well, I think that's the part where people don't stay. I think we have a duty to give a recommendation based on the case we're hearing tonight, due diligence after we review policy 305, since they were connected. So I think we can go in executive session for 10 minutes and come right back and watch.
Tonight?
No,
Or next week?
I'm talking about September's
next
agenda
month,
right
yeah.
now, where it's public agenda, policy 305, our case recommendations or none if there's none, and then into our regular agenda where we do new business and then a policy discussion. What do you guys think of that?
And then another executive session?
Yeah, we're
Then
gonna,
another
those two,
executive session.
so are we gonna talk about those two citizens cases that they called for, one tonight and one last month,
At the end of next.
at the end of next, yeah, so. You good over there?
Yeah, what are the two PSB numbers?
Good.
25 PSP 2461 is Mr. Mazar's, which would most likely be first, and then 25 PSP 3567 was the one from us tonight.
And then under policy discussion, normal number 4, it would be the tattoo policy. And then we're kind of caught up on what we said we were gonna do by September, is that correct? Yep. Okay.
The Dr. Berger will be October.
Dr. Burns is October,
I think it has to be.
because next month is a full agenda.
Plus, we should probably know more about our board presentation, and it would be good to have whatever our strategic planning retreat and Dr. Berger's report probably in the same month.
Then I will send out the tattoo policy as well as policy 305, the juvenile policy, for your review next month.
Yeah.
And that's why policy 305 is definitely the one that you guys wanted to review. Because there's some other things that could be juveniles, but this one specifically says juvenile arrest. And that's what we want to address, right?
It was arrest and.
But I think there's also concern too about contacting
Contacting parents.
Oh, yeah.
So it wasn't just explicitly arrest.
See, I don't know if that's a child in need of care.
That might be a.
Well, because it talks about, well, you give us some advice on if policy 305 would include when and or if parents are contacted regarding juvenile arrests. Is that part of 305 or is that separate with waiver PD?
If it has it in.
Well, if it's a separate policy, do we just want to do that?
No, it'll be.
Okay, yeah. There, it's all under 305. Okay.
And so that leaves ICT 1 policy, misdemeanor policy, and PD investigations for policy review.
I think that's okay.
Okay.
That gives us October being Berzer, potentially strategic planning, and 2 policy reviews. And then whatever case we can fit in, maybe we don't do cases in October because we're getting presentation for 5 years.
Unless they're short enough, like Dr. Captain Cooley did last time too.
Should we just pick a case then to?
Not for, I think we should just wait till the September meeting.
Okay.
Well, there's also the option, and I'm not sure, but like if we have him prepare a case, then like maybe he's not gonna get 3 or 4 all at once.
Oh, sorry,
That's more concern this time, and he's here, so we can talk to them rather than about. him.
If we ask for a case to be prepared, if we run out of time, are you good with that? Because we don't want October to be so full, but we also don't wanna not have a report on deck, and have time to get through it.
The only thing I would caution with that is then if we finish it in November, are we gonna then need to rehash the same information, or are you gonna remember it a month later enough to give?
Take some good notes.
It's actually only gonna be a couple weeks later.
And he's right, you may have different people. What if in November is a different group that didn't see the October presentation?
Maybe we just don't plan on having cases on the October agenda to give us time to actually talk about strategic planning and Dr. Burke's report. And then that gives us the ICT one policy and whichever the other second policy we review.
ST1, off-duty conduct misdemeanors, and domestic violence investigation.
Maybe domestic violence be with the ICT one,
Yeah.
and then have the other two be for November.
Okay.
And then you also have.
Good to
Do
go?
all that? That's to make sure we're not going too fast.
So October is Dr. Bruiser, ICT one policy, DV investigation policy, and no executive session.
And no executive session.
Might be more efficient.
But,
Do you have September's?
September, let me clarify,
and read September.
September, we're just rearranging, you guys are gonna have to do a motion on this.
Okay.
You're doing public agenda, policy 305, short executive session to review the case that we're reviewing tonight, or to give a dissertation, immediately thereafter. Then new business, executive session, et cetera. Basically regular agenda after that. And then the policy you're wanting to review is tattoo policy. And the two cases that I got from Gregory. Is that right?
Yes. What was your question, Stephanie?
I think you answered it.
Okay, so I guess I need to make a motion.
It's the last one on this.
Do we need to make a motion for?
Not for this meeting.
Next meeting.
Next meeting, make a motion to take these items
Okay.
out of order. But, I mean, you're directing the clerk to set them in that order, so I don't know. It's hard for her to set an agenda that doesn't follow.
To
Well,
make an exception.
you
to
know what, the
agenda.
clerk should just create the agenda and then you take the motion.
Because we can also rearrange it during the meeting. That's also an option. She can make it in the format she's used to, and then there can be a motion to move an item.
So we have September and October.
Doing good. All right. You ready?
That is all my notes, and I'll shut up.
Thank you. Before we go into executive session, thank you, brother, for doing a very, very, very good job. Appreciate you very kindly. I think we need about 15 minutes for our executive session. So, give me one more minute. Go to executive session, so the time we can come out at 7:00.
Nailed it. In the last second, before we go to executive session, there's a workshop on Saturday. Y'all can make it. If not, I'll be there, so it doesn't matter because it's my board doing it. But this is a Sedgwick County, ACLU, and City of Wichita staff are all gonna be there. So it's about driver's license suspension, felon seeking to restore voting rights, and Sedgwick County jail resources. So I have a couple flyers if anybody wants one.
So I was telling her I'll take a flyer at the end of the meeting.
Okay, who's the best?
Great, I move that Citizen Review Board recess into executive session for 15 minutes to review information related to PSB 23 PSB P0010. To discuss personal matters of non-elected personnel and to protect the privacy and interests of identifiable individuals. We will return at 7:00. All in favor? Second, sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? Okay.
Will be on September's agenda.
That's not very fluid, I'm sure you'll say it more eloquently.
This live.
But I think you did even just disclose that there's no discussion due to.
We said last meeting.
Yes.
I know.
We are back in session, back in public session. We did not review on tonight due to a paper error. And so we will move this to our next month agenda. We move the review of this particular case to our next month's agenda. And so with that, we did not review any case on tonight, so there's no report to be given. Our next order of business is our adjournment.
I'm motion to.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.